long-term leave. Yeah, on paid leave from Project Veritas.
Oh, that's nice of him. Paid.
Well, I think
It's his company.
you have to. Yeah. Well,
Well,
I think
not anymore.
technically, because it's a nonprofit, I don't know that he can technically own it. But then,
Right.
like, so yeah, it's weird.
But he's the face. He's it.
Yes, James O'Keefe is Project Veritas, which is what a lot of people are saying. Um, and so I guess what's going on? People are complaining that he's mean. Um,
All right.
like there were some employee complaints about some actions that he took or that he said some things that were a little bit harsh to somebody, and it almost sounds like he's just maybe hard to work for because he maybe demands a lot out of his employees,
Mhm.
which is
That would be
some
irritating.
people are like that, and
Yeah.
yeah, it could be irritating, but at the same time, I mean, you could maybe argue that that's why Project Veritas is the way it is.
Right.
Um,
I mean, unless he's actually um, breached some type of human rights type thing, or if he's just a bit of a dick, well, okay.
yeah,
I've
so
worked for dicks.
there was this Twitter thread talking about it from this guy, and they basically say that they held a 6.5 hour struggle session versus him, where they subjected him to constant derision and insults at the insistence of tiermen who O'Harry and Hinckley, who I believe are some of the board members. Apparently, there were 10 employees that aired grievances about James, which essentially boiled down to him being a tough boss to work for. I think I would like to point out too that this Twitter thread is likely very biased in favor of O'Keefe. So, like, he's framing it this way. He might be right, he might not be right, but that seems to be the impression that a
So
lot
you're
of people
saying,
are
oh, this
getting.
is in favor of. Okay.
Yeah, this guy doing this Twitter thread, like later in the thread, this person even mentions that if O'Keefe's out, he's not going to be a supporter of Project Veritas. Um, But yeah, he says it was literally a Stalin-esque kangaroo court trial. The thing that is so very profound to me that no one seems to grasp: John Garvey and the rest of the board did nothing to stop it. Matt Tierman had it all scripted, all 6 fucking hours.
Well, that
And
already that's pretty awful. So you're gonna sit down and
yeah,
have people just berate you for 6 hours and tell you how tough you are to work for all this. That doesn't sound constructive at all.
no,
It sounds a little witch hunty.
yeah, and there was another point made here.
Cool. Oh
Um,
my God. I woke up to 1.3 million
yeah,
notifications this
I
morning.
know that's a lot, right? Talk about your phone exploding.
Yeah.
Um, I forget what the other point that I had here was. Obviously, maybe it wasn't that important. Um, oh, right. So I don't know if you made it in this thread. It seems that this whole thing almost seems like it seems very suspect.
Hmm.
That like immediately after one of their biggest exposés ever, they
Yeah.
kind of stage a coup against him,
Yeah.
and I think there's a couple angles that you can take. Like you can go the conspiracy angle and say that maybe it's infiltration from some of these organizations, maybe even the government's involved to try to get James O'Keefe out because they know if they get James O'Keefe out, it's just a matter of time before it falls apart. Or they get somebody in there who is gonna play
Chill.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also maybe it's like Project Veritas is able to raise a lot of money. I assume they have a lot of income. So I wonder if they potentially want to funnel more of that money into their pockets. And O'Keefe is someone who like truly believes in the mission of Project Veritas and isn't about that. And so maybe that's why they want him out, so that they can kind of
Yeah.
give themselves a nice paycheck, a nice bigger paycheck or bonuses or whatever.
Yeah. That's plausible for sure.
You know,
Yeah. Well, you said it. The timing suspect.
yeah,
Like
very
you just put this big expose
huge.
against a major pharmaceutical company, and we all know that they've got power, a lot of power. So
Yeah,
I
who knows
yeah
if it
I
has them?
I don't want to
The
speak.
government's involved too. Like,
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn too much too early because it is pretty early, and
yeah,
it's easy to jump on that boat to say, oh, it's big
yeah,
pharma, they're going after him. that sounds very conspiracy theory type thing to me, like without any evidence of it. It is, although it does smell
It
like
is
shit.
suspect. It does
Yeah,
smell bad. Whether it's conspiratorial or whether it's just the board members wanting more control over the money,
yeah.
that could be very likely as well.
Hmm.
Um,
But the timing's
I think
weird.
either way, though, James O'Keefe is Project Veritas, and there isn't they're not gonna be successful without him.
You would think that
I
it
don't think they have a chance.
right. You would think that if you, as a board member, your utmost, like your biggest job is to make sure that the company does well.
Yeah,
This company, because he's the face, doesn't really stand much of a chance to do very well without him, at least in the short term.
yeah.
Unless they could get some, if they had somebody very fast that was like a second, and then that person stepped in, okay. But I don't know that he's second in Project
Especially like
Veritas,
the nature of it. It's like
right?
it's him.
Yeah,
He's the face. He's the thing behind it. He's what built it. He's how it started. Like I don't know. I don't know that it's possible to replace him at all,
yeah,
unless like does he have a son we don't know about who's like old enough?
yeah. And would they
you
want it?
know?
Would they want that anyway? They'd be like,
Yeah, I know. It seems
I think he's
it
around
seems like they're
40.
grasping at straws here.
I think he's right
Uh,
around 40. So the chance of him having a son that's of age to
very
do it's
low, very
probably
low.
pretty low. Yeah.
And oh, I think some of the employees that signed the thing um, kind of admitted that they didn't like it was like
They were coerced a little bit.
no, the accusations sounded bad, so like, oh, if this happened, that's horrible. So they signed it, but they didn't. They themselves
Didn't have any
didn't
personal.
know.
Yeah.
They didn't have the experience. They didn't know of any of the instances happening. So it's like, yeah, it's very, very suspect. And I guess one of the things they accused him of, which is, they say that he stole a sandwich from a pregnant lady at one point. Right? Like, how fake does
Yeah.
that sound?
Sounds awesome.
It
And
sounds,
he took candy from the baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he once parked in a handicap parking spot.
I hear he
It's
does
not
that. I
handicapped.
hear he does that like twice a week.
Oh,
Yeah,
he should be hung.
yeah. And one time when the fire department was rescuing a cat from a tree,
Yeah.
he came by and he put the cat back in the tree later. Yeah,
Oh, so he could do an expose on the cat.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because the cat worked for Pfizer.
It was the Pfizer cat.
Yeah, this is a Pfizer cat.
Yeah. This all stinks. We'll have to see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
I mean, it could be getting blown up a little too. Maybe there was sort of maybe there was this little stupid intervention, this work intervention type thing, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Just I need a little time off. Give me a little time off," and they
Maybe,
did that.
yeah.
But if they
Yeah, I think he has remained silent on the whole thing
right,
so far, so we don't necessarily know what his thoughts are,
yeah.
or anything like that.
I mean, I'm surprised that they have that kind of power to just oust him.
I'm not because it's a nonprofit.
Right,
I'd imagine there's a lot of things that you have to do eh, in order to legally run a nonprofit that involve delegating power and making this sort of thing possible. It's probably completely possible for them to get him out of there
right.
permanently, and there's probably nothing you can do about it. Um, but
I
you
mean,
know,
but then what? He just goes start his own damn thing.
yeah,
It's like anybody does. Like Bill O'Reilly did that when Fox got rid of him. He's got his own thing now. I don't know what it's called, but
yeah. I mean, I could see James O'Keefe
they
just
all do that.
starting like Project Veritas 2,
Or
and
wouldn't even call it. I would just say James O'Keefe
yeah,
investigates or something.
yeah, something like that, and it'll just everything that Project Veritas has would just follow him, and then Project Veritas would die.
Right.
Because what are they going to do?
Yeah.
If they can't raise the money, they don't have the investigative journalism to support it.
Right. So
But
we'll see how this goes.
yeah.
All unfolds.